What is shore power? Where did shore power get its name? What is shore power used for? Should you add shore power to your van, and what different types of shore power adapters are there? These are the questions we're going to answer on this episode of Big Rob's Van. My name is Rob. This is Big Rob's Van. This is the lake, and today, while we're parked by the shore, we're talking about shore power. So let's get into it. What is shore power? Well, shore power is a fancy way of saying grid power. So the term obviously originated from boats and from ships. When they would come in from the ocean and they would dock, they would get shore power from the shore. Now that term has been adopted by other types of transportation like airplanes and 18-wheelers and RVs, and yes, camper vans. So anytime that you're coming in and you're plugging in to power from someone else's electrical power, that's called shore power. Now what do you need shore power for? Well, there are two things I can think of. If you're going out and camping in your van, you probably have some sort of battery system in the coach of your van. This might be batteries that you've installed, or this might be temporary power stations like Jackeries and Blue Eddies and things like that. All those things need recharging, and there's a few ways to do that. You can do it with solar that you put on your roof or outside. You can do it through your alternator. The van itself can recharge batteries, or you can plug into shore power. Now, before adding a shore power outlet to this van, every time I came back from camping, I'd have to pull all my batteries out of the van, disconnect everything I had plugged into them, take them into my workshop, plug them into the wall. When they got charged up, unplug them, bring them back out of the van. It was a real pain in the butt. Now with shore power, I could just plug those things in here in the van, connect my shore power connection, and get power to the van while I'm sitting in the driveway. The other reason why you might want to add shore power is for running appliances. Now, if you're going to campgrounds or RV parks or places like that, you're going to find that they have power pedestals, and you can pull up and plug into that, and then you can run appliances that you really wouldn't want to run for very long on your battery system. So if you have things like a heater or an air conditioner, or even some appliances like refrigerators, coffee makers, microwaves, anything like that that takes a lot of electricity that you don't want to drain your own batteries, if you have shore power, you can have an outlet, and then when you get to one of those places, plug into their power, plug your appliances in, and now you're all good to go, even while you're charging your own batteries. So let's talk about the three different types of shore power adapters real quick. There is a 50 amp adapter, there is a 30 amp, and then there is a 15 amp. Now real quick, a 50 amp adapter is what I would refer to as the big mamma jamma of power adapters. This is what you're going to see on big RVs. This is what you're going to see on tour buses and things like that. 50 amps is a lot of power. You can have refrigerator, microwave, a hair dryer, a heater, all those things, and you can have them all running at the same time. Now, each one of these adapters is physically different. So if you're going to go camping, you can look ahead at an RV spot or a campground, and you can find out what type of power adapters that they offer at their power pedestals. But all 50 amps power adapters are all the same. So you would want to look and make sure that they have a 50 amp power outlet. A 30 amp is kind of a compromise. It's in the middle between 50 and 15. It sounds like it's a lot less, but it's really not that small of an adapter. 30 amps is a lot of amps. My microwave that I have here in the van uses about 8 amps of power. So if you think about 30 amps, it's still a lot of things that you could do. Now, you're not going to be able to plug those into a home outlet. You have to find a 30 amp adapter, but I'll talk just in a second about different adapters that you can get. But a 30 amp is a nice compromise between 50 and 15, but really it just depends on your use case scenario. Finally, at the low end, we have a 15 amp outlet. Now that sounds really low when we're talking about 50 and 30, but a 15 amp adapter, if you're in the US, you will recognize it immediately because it looks exactly like the outlets that we have in our home. It is essentially a 110 wall receptacle. So you're going to get the same amount of electricity that you would get out of a single outlet in your home. That's going to be a little bit more than 1800 volts and 15 amps, which is what most wall outlets have circuit breakers that are limited to 15 amps. So what can you do? Well, you can run most appliances. You can run a heater. The heater that I have in my workshop uses 15 amps, so it'd be pretty close, but you could run that heater. You could run your refrigerator, you could run a microwave, coffee maker, any of those things, but you may not be able to run all of those things at the same time. So you're kind of limiting yourself to how many things you could run at the same time. Now, on the other hand, I think a 15 amp adapter is the most convenient, and that's what I ended up installing in my van, because all I need to do is charge those batteries. So when I pull up in my driveway, I could drag an extension cord out, plug it into the back of my van. That's immediately going to get electricity to my battery and recharge everything that I need. So when I'm ready to go, I just unplug and I can drive off. Now, regardless of the type of adapter that you buy, you're going to have to get that power outside your van, inside your van, and that means drilling a hole somewhere. Now, one of the things, not everybody cares about this, but personally, I'm trying to keep this van as inconspicuous as possible. Yes, you could say stealth camping. Some people don't like the term stealth camping, but I don't want a bunch of things on the outside of the van that may make people look and think there's somebody on the inside of the van. So I also wasn't crazy about drilling another hole in the outside of the van to go through. And so what I found was the little license plate holder in the back of my van. It's called a license plate pocket, and it's about 2.5 inches deep, maybe somewhere between 2 1/4 and 2.5 inches deep. The adapter that I purchased is about 2 1/4 inches deep. So when I looked, it fit perfectly in the little license plate pocket. I call it a license plate box, but it fit perfectly in there. And so that's where I decided to install mine. So let me show you what I did. You may want to buy a bigger adapter, but I'm going to talk later on about types of adapters and step down and step up adapters that you can add to your system. So the first thing I did was I removed my license plate box. Now, I took my license plate off first, which I immediately found out was not required. I thought there were some screws underneath there, but there weren't. The license plate holder, the license plate box is held in with 4 screws on the inside of my particular van. So all I had to do was unscrew those 4 bolts, and you can see that the license plate holder basically just kind of falls out. It's held in place with the lights that hold the, license plate light, and also I've added a backup camera, so it kind of holds all this in place. Now, the adapter I purchased off of Amazon says that it requires a 2-inch hole. So to do that, we're going to need a few tools. Basically, I need to get my drill. As you can see, I keep all my tools very neat, hanging on the wall. It's very important to me. And also, I got these circular drill bits. They're used for drilling holes into things. I got these on Amazon too. I'll add links down there. One of my favorite things about these drill bits is that they're bright orange, so that I never lose them. Every time I pull them out and I put them on my workbench, as you can see, my workbench is very messy, and so I never lose them. I actually had a different brand of these type of drill bits, these circular drill bits, and it was much more complicated to install and get working, and I eventually lost pieces that made it work. So I got rid of those and I bought this one to replace it. This one's so much simpler. As you can see, there's just a simple drill bit that goes through the middle. You screw that down, and now you've got this circular drill bit. I wanted to do a test fitting before I went and drilled on my van, so I used the box that the adapter came in, and I drilled a circular hole right through the middle of the box. I even did a little test fitting. You may notice that I couldn't find the circle, the cardboard circle that got cut out. That's because it is inside the drill bit, but don't worry, I'll find it later in the video. The next step was taking that same drill bit and drilling a 2-inch hole through the license plate holder on the top. Now, as you can see, these drill bits, they're designed, they could go through steel, they could go through wood, and they go through plastic lickety-split. No problem with the drill bit. And then I just had to feed the pigtails from my particular adapter. Now, my adapter has a male end on one end and 2 female pigtails off of the back end. By the way, it is at this point that I noticed that the plastic circle is also missing. The plastic circle is inside the drill bit, and below that is the cardboard circle from the last thing. I guess you could drill about 10 things before this drill bit would fill up. The next step was just actually mounting the plug inside the license plate holder. It came with screws, and so all I did was use my drill to push those screws up into the plastic. It also has a little waterproof seal, so that's in place, so it shouldn't have any water leaking. You could put some caulking underneath there if you really needed to do on the outside of a van, a watertight seal, but this is upside down in there, and so I just can't imagine water flowing up into this hole. I've screwed it in really tight. I think it's going to be fine. I will check it the first time I go through a car wash, and if there's any water, I will unscrew those a little bit and put a little bit of sealant in there. Now the last step was feeding those pigtails through the hollow part of the door. I'm thinking about attaching one of those wall outlets. When I put the rear panel, it'll mount like a normal power strip or one of those wall outlets that gives you 6 outlets on there. They actually have newer ones that have 6 outlets and a few USB ports, so that would be handy, I can imagine. So, but for right now, I'm just using those 2 pigtails, and I have each of my batteries plugged into one of those. So now the final test was just dragging an extension cord out to the driveway, plugging it into the little port, and checking and making sure that I have power on the inside of the van. I want to mention that this particular adapter that I purchased requires no electrical knowledge or skills. The adapter on the outside has a male adapter, so that's where you would plug in an extension cord, and on the inside you have 2 female pigtails. The one I bought has 12 gauge wire on the outside and then splits to 14 gauge wire, which is plenty thick enough for anything that I need to run or charge up inside this van. The final step of any project is to put all your tools back where you got them. This is a big pet peeve of mine. Someone told me one time, any tool that you can't find is the same as not owning it. I drive myself crazy. Now I have this dedicated workshop at the end of my driveway, so I'm the only person I have to blame if I can't find anything. So the drill goes back where the drill is supposed to go. The drill bits go back where they're supposed to go. Next time I need any of these things, I can find them. I want to give a quick shout out to the pit crew, aka all my Patreon supporters. I know my videos have been a little scarce lately, so I appreciate everybody who signed up and has stuck with me. So as a show of appreciation to my current Patreon supporters and anyone who signs up in April or May, I will personally mail you a couple of Big Rob's Van stickers. So that applies to any of my support tiers, the $10 tier, the $5 tier, the $2 tier, not the free tier, you freeloaders, but everybody else, I'll mail you some stickers. Now I know what you're probably saying, I got to be losing money on that, and you're absolutely right, but I don't care. It's a way that I could show my thanks to you guys for supporting me. So the money that came from the last Patreon payment is what paid for the shore power for the van. So anyway, thank you guys for supporting me, and I really appreciate it. Today is Friday. My wife is out of town and I am off work. So I used my shore power adapter to charge up my batteries. I've got my laptop hooked up over there. I've got my GoPro sitting right here. I've got a few other things charging right here. The shore adapter worked great, and I am enjoying a great day here by the edge of the shore. So thanks for watching this video. By the way, I will be editing this video and uploading it within a couple of hours. Once that video's loaded, I'm coming right back to the van and heading out tonight for some more camping adventures. So thanks for sticking with the channel. I had a little bit of a break. I have some stuff going on, but I've got some pretty wacky ideas coming up very soon. So hey, thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you guys soon. Completely distracted by the people that are parked behind me. What are they doing? Oh, they're fishing. I'm wishing I was fishing. Actually, I'm not. I hate fishing. But it rhymed. Actually losing money now that I think about it.